All right, welcome here, everyone. Welcome to Fearless Friday. It's a little bit hard to believe that it's Friday again. It's also a little bit hard to believe that we are deep into August. I feel like summer is going by so fast. So hopefully we can all still just grab onto whatever summer's left and really, really enjoy it. And so I'm grateful that you're joining us today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Meg Heppner. I am the branch director for Happy Healthy Women down in South Surrey. And Happy Healthy Women is an organization that I'm so passionate about. It's an organization that creates an environment for women to come and just be their authentic selves and really show up in a place where, one, you can find community, but two, you can also find opportunity to grow, opportunity to connect, opportunity to step up in leadership in so many different ways. So if you're new to this idea of Happy Healthy Women, I 100% suggest that you go and you check it out because it is the community to be a part of. And today I have a community member. Well, I have more than a community member. I have a trailblazer in Happy Healthy Women with us to talk about something massively important. Carolini, Arco, is here. And honestly, one, you're just a beautiful human being. I'm always so grateful to connect with you. But two, you do important work in the world. You are a spiritual guide and an energy healer. And honestly, is that not what the world needs right now? So thank you for joining me. I'm so happy that you're here.
Oh, thank you so much, Meg. It's always a pleasure spending time with you and helping to grow Happy Healthy Woman.
Yeah.
It's part of my mission to have a happy, healthy world. So it starts right here, right? It starts with these conversations.
Absolutely. I love that. So I would love to hear first just a little bit more about your work. I know you do important work. Describe to us, what does it mean to be a spiritual guide? What does it mean to go about the work of healing someone's energy? What does that work involve?
Yes. So I'd love to give a little bit of a background of how I came to have the honor to call myself a spiritual guide. And 8 years ago, I moved from Brazil, from a very tiny town on the south of Brazil to Canada. And I had very little more than a couple $1,000 on my pocket and a big dream to, explore something new. And so I arrived in Canada. I have a number of experiences. And as my time here started developing, I completely lost myself. I lost my sense of identity. I lost my joy for life. I became a very anxious, a very insecure person. And I was manifesting all sorts of toxic relationships around me. I had a job that was on borderline abusive. And my life was really not going in a good direction. And I had a moment where I saw that if I continue in that pattern, that if I continue in that path, my life wouldn't really go very far. I could see that, I was reaching an end of this thing that we call life. And so I've made a commitment to myself. And at the time, I didn't even know what that was, but I've committed myself to learning how to love myself from the inside out. A commitment that now I understand was a reclamation. I decided to reclaim my joy, to reclaim my happiness. And at that time, I had no idea what that meant. But the moment that I've put that commitment out into the world, the universe started responding to me in such beautiful, magical ways. And I started connecting back to spiritual gifts that I had since I was a child, but I hadn't developed yet. And starting to understand the energetic nature of the universe. And it came through Reiki and shamanism and many different blessed teachers that started coming into my life. And so in a matter of 3 years or so, I completely transformed my life from being somebody very insecure, very anxious, living in a household with toxic people, in a job that I hated, to manifesting the love of my life on the public transport, moving to my dream home and opening a business that I truly believe on, a business based on reminding everybody that you are a spiritual being first and a human being second, and that your spiritual powers are incredible. And there's so much more than people even allow themselves to believe at this point. And that when you get these spiritual powers and you understand your true identity, you can use that to create absolute magic in your life. So over the last 3.5 years, Arco, my company, has helped over 2,500 people cross through this portal of self-acceptance, of self-empowerment, and just like I did, reclaim their happiness, reclaim their ability to create miracles every day. I love this sentence, creating miracles every single day.
That is so beautiful. And I think that you have pinpointed something very, very, very important and something that's highly overlooked. This idea that you can do, but unless your energy, your spirit is in line, all that doing, you may have had housing, you may have had work, you may have had relationships. You're doing the things that are required to get those things, but they're not in alignment, so they don't bring joy. They don't bring the things that bring you real fulfillment and lift you up. And so, yes, you have your technical needs met, but in a way that's actually more damaging. So it's really interesting, this concept of doing is not necessarily the most important thing. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but first getting that alignment with what you energetically want, and how would I say it? You can probably say it better than me, but getting that energy in alignment and that mindset in alignment is far more important. Do you agree? Or tell me what that brings up for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what I see right now, Meg, is I am so blessed to be able to have access to ascended masters, right? I've developed my spiritual abilities to a state where I can access ascended masters. I can access very high elevated beings. And when I connect to them and when I collect to the collective energy that is going in the world right now, there is this process of remembrance happening. And that remembrance is very much remembering that life is very energetic, that the universe works in frequencies. And that's why right now, like people are being more drawn to Reiki healing, to manifestation, to quantum physics, all of these methodologies that bring forth this knowledge. Life is frequency first, life is energy first. And you are an energetic being who has a very strong tool inside of you called free will. Free will is what allows us to understand that energy and to direct it to a certain place, to a certain intention. And so when we can really understand the energetic nature of everything, and we are creating from that first. So we're not creating through the Newtonian laws first, right? Of like, do. I need to have action and have charter response. Like action is a part of it. But if we can first understand the energetic nature of everything and how I relate to energy, how my free will directs energy, and then we use that to actually make an action that is in alignment, that's when we're really using our power, and we're not draining ourselves, we're not overwhelming ourselves, we're not, giving away, we're actually like nurturing it. Yeah. So I 100% agree with what you said.
No, I agree. And for those people who maybe aren't as aware of energy, maybe this is the first time they're, hearing about this or whatever, I like to give the example, and you can tell me if this is a good example or not. I like to give the example of when you walk into a room and you just all of a sudden, something just happened in that room, right? Like, let's say you walk into a couple's house and you go, I have a feeling there was a tense argument going on in here just before I walked into the room. Or I know, especially as a child, it's funny, as a child, it was so easy to, walk into my mom and dad's room and go, oh, I think I'm just going to walk back out, even though they just, glanced over at me. I was like, oh, I think they maybe, they're having a discussion or whatever. Or you meet someone for the first time and there's something inside of you that goes, oh, this is a wonderful person. I love this person. Or something inside of you that goes, you know what? I'm just going to proceed cautiously. Something inside of me. And so most of us have had those experiences. And I think that's a great first step in going, oh, that's what energy feels like. That's what that vibration feels like. Would you agree with that? Or what would first steps be for you?
100%. I think that is a very solid first step. And as you said, it can start with the way that you relate to the environment around you, right? Like, how does this environment feel? Does it feel loving? Does it feel expansive? Energy has this way of communicating with us through expansiveness or contraction. This is really the beginning of like starting to understand energy. And we can use that in an environment or with somebody that you feel, as you said, right? Like, oh, this person makes me feel expansive. They make me feel hopeful. There's this like growth that kind of naturally happens inside of me. Or no, like this person makes me feel contracting, or this environment makes contract. We can use that in the environment, and we can also use that in ourselves. We can like just waking up in the morning and being aware of like, what am I vibrating right now? What is the quality of the energy that is inside of me? Am I in a state of rush and, like, oh my gosh, I need to do all of these things and what's next? Or am I in a state where there's space right here, right now? There's calmness, there's peace. And if you can get to those states, like kind of one by one, you start developing something that's very interesting. I hope this is making sense. You start developing a reference point where now you know how it feels to be in an expansive state. You know how it feels to be in that state that is aligned with your highest good, right? And then you also know when you're not there, when you've fallen out of it. And that is very important to have that distinction. So you know, oh, when I'm out of it, that is where I want to go back to. I have a reference point to return to. So that is very much the beginning, is just getting used to that idea of, is this thing, this food, this relationship, this house, this work, whatever it is, right? Is this expanding me or is this contracting me?
Yeah,
What else can you expect?
Yeah, I love that. It very much reminds me of this. I've been to a few Tony Robbins events where he talks about you do the emotion, where it's like your body will get into a certain state in order to feel abundant, but it also gets into a certain state to feel scarcity. And so if you can get that reference point, like you said, it's such a beautiful thing. Like, what does my body do when I'm feeling this, and how can I shift it to a more abundant, energy? That's massively important. What would a first step be in actually making the shift, right? So first, you want to go, where am I? Can I bring awareness to where I am? And then how can you bring awareness, or what's the first step to going into where you want to go?
Yeah. I think that's a great question. And as you said, like the first step is always self-awareness, is the willingness of being aware of oneself. And that by itself is something that is very challenging to people because we live in a very distracting world, a world that is constantly trying to pay attention to this and that and that and that and that, right? So just bringing awareness to yourself, it's already such a powerful step to just decide, okay, I'm going to have a moment to check in with myself. And then I think it's very much like a process of exploration. It's really like exploring these things that make you feel in an expansive state, right? So perhaps that is like, I'll put a song on, I'll put a Beyonce song and I'll feel like, I'll see how that makes me feel. And then I'll put a Queen song and I see if that makes me feel different. I'll see how my energy shifts between those two. Or just going, like for me, when I was really starting to understand energy and starting to connect to the frequency level of everything, I was going to long walks in nature. And without like a headphone, without any expectations, like sometimes I didn't even know where I was going. I still do these things. I just like grab my car and I'm like, Spirit, where do I need to go today? And I go there and I just start walking and I start paying attention to, like the dance of the leaves on the tree. And I start paying attention to the feeling of the air on my skin or the sunshine on the sunshine on my skin. And I see how each one of these stimulus make me feel different. And they bring me something different. Yes, and then that for me is the beginning of like starting to understand things in an energetic level. It's just being very aware of, how does this make me feel? How does this make me feel? How does this make me feel? So it's almost like being that observer of your own journey, right? And observing from a very sensorial level, because energy is sensorial. It's a very, we can feel it. We can, you can see it. Most people can see it as well if you develop that. But at first you have to feel it.
Yeah.
You have to step into the feeling of it.
Yeah.
And creating that space, you can feel it.
I love that. And this removal of distraction and the willingness to be and then to notice. I think that's just so lovely. So a question for you then. How do you know if you are being energetically moved? And how do you know if you are engaging in behavior that actually isn't isn't positive, but the desire to go in that direction is there. And I'll give you an example. I Let's say you go, my desire is for, food, or my desire is to, like, I think of people who might have addictions, right? Like, I would go to gamble, or to be in relationship with this person, and you feel like I'm drawn to it, but it's really not good for you. How would you know the difference between, this is really helpful, I'm being drawn, the energy is leading me somewhere, to, oh, even though I long for this person, even though I long for this activity, even though I long to give into this craving, it isn't good for me, and the energy there is different. How would you become aware of that?
Well, I think that's a very layered process. There's a lot
Mm.
of layers to getting into that state, right? And at the beginning, it will be that you have to go through that experience first, so that after you can look back and you can say, okay, that wasn't good for me. Even though I had that pull, I had that push, it actually wasn't good for me. And you can reflect back and you can think, what was the energy that I was when I was, when I made that decision to get in a relationship with that person? Oh, it was an energy of rush. Generally, when we're acting out of fear, it's going to be a thought or an energy of like, I need to do this right now. There's no other time. Like that by itself has a scarcity attached to it, right? Or this is the only person that is right for me. Like I need this job. Anything that comes with like, I need this. This is it. This is the only thing. We know that we're acting out of fear. Because if we're acting out of love, there's unlimited possibilities. There's a detachment. So anytime there's attachment to how we want things to be, is an invitation to look at ourselves and say, where's my fear? Where am I fearing that if I don't get this, I'll, like I won't have another chance, or that this is the only thing? Where is my fear? And then check in and say, well, will I respond out of fear? Or will I respond out of love? When we are an entrepreneur, I see that so often on the internet. I cannot even tell you, like, for me, it's very clear, right? When somebody put a post out and they're like inviting somebody to work with them, for an example, there's two very distinct energy. There's the energy of the person who is like, oh, my business coach told me I should do that, and I really need a new client, so I'm going to write this post and I'm going to put it out there, and please somebody respond and let me close a client. And you can feel that, like,
desperation.
You can, even if the text is beautiful and the copy is really well done, you can feel that, right? Versus somebody who is like, there's an abundance of clients around me, I'm so expensive, I want to invite people into my field because I can hold this space for more. It's a completely different energy. And even if like just checking in with yourself, right? Like the moment that I'm going to post, am I posting out of fear? Am I posting out of I need? Or am I posting out of this could be amazing?
I love that. I love what you just said there, because it's interesting, because my husband and I, we've been together for 21 years. And we got together when we were 16, right? So it's like we were babies. We got married when we were 19. And when we first got together, we had a very codependent relationship. And it was that typical Hollywood, you complete me, you're my other half, right? Whatever. And then as we went on our development journey, as we personally just became more aware, etc., we got to a point in our relationship where we went, we don't need each other, but we want each other. And that's a totally different way of being in relationships. So one, the example you gave in business is like 100%. And to me, it made me reflect on my husband. I can hear him making dinner over there in the kitchen. And I thought, oh, it's so interesting, because the same thing is true in relationships as well. This idea of, oh, you're the only one for me. Like you are my one and only. It sounds very romantic, and our culture tends to try to make that romantic, but that's a fear-based way of being with someone. And when you graduate to go, here's the thing, if you were not in my life, I would be so sad, but I would be okay. That's a totally new way of coming at relationship. And it's much more beautiful in my opinion. It's a much more beautiful way to be in relationship. So I love that you bring that up. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. That's such a good point. So how do you use your energy then to bring you to the things that you want? Because a part of energy is about flowing with where it goes, right? And then you talk about this idea of free will. to create what you want. How do those two things combine with one another?
Yes. So how do you use your energy to bring the things that you want, right?
Yeah.
I think the main thing is to, again, you have to have clarity on what it is that you want. And this is, again, like there's a lot of misconception on what that means to people. Because one thing is to have clarity of, I want abundance. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you might have an idea of what that means. Oh, abundance for me means like $10,000 a month and 3 new clients or whatever, right? Like you might have an idea of that, what that means. But if you get caught up on the idea of what that means, I need 3 new clients. Sorry, there's somebody calling me, but I have no idea who it is.
Abundance, somebody needs
you. If you get caught up on the idea of like, oh, abundance only means 3 new clients, only means that certain thing, then you are back into the attachments. Yeah. So how do we direct our energy to create what we really want? It's really making a choice every single day, waking up in the morning, and instead of being like, oh, I'm going to be the automatic mode me, I'm going to be responding to life like I do every day, it's being like, no, who do I want to be today? What kind of person do I want to be today? What kind of energy do I want to vibrate in today? And perhaps you recognize that, most days you vibrate on worry, you vibrate on lack, you vibrate on scarcity. And you said, well, today I'll be different. And it doesn't mean you're going to be perfect, because you will go back to like your old automatic, programmings. But it means that in some ways, in a little moment of your day, you're going to choose differently. And you're going to choose, I'm going to connect to hope. I'm going to connect to abundance. So it just really starts with putting this intention of, who do I want to be in life? How do I want to vibrate? What are the energies I want to bring to the world? And what are the energies that I don't want to bring into the world?
Yeah, that's so important, because we're so much more powerful than we think we are. We so often think we're just one person doing one thing, but whatever energy you're vibrating at, you're increasing that in the universe. So at least this is my opinion. So anytime you're vibrating on worry, scarcity, all those different things, then that's increasing. And anytime you're switching that to love, forgiveness, peace, goodness, then that's increasing. And so I think you're a very powerful human being. I think sometimes we just don't recognize that.
We are powerful beyond our measures, right? Like the stories that I have to tell around manifestation and around like spiritual enlightening opportunities and experiences, it's mind-blowing. It goes so beyond what most of the people in today's collective consciousness is willing to even consider possible, We're so extremely powerful, and it really just starts with this power of choice. It just starts with recognizing you have a choice. If focusing on the lack, focusing on the fear, focusing on what's wrong is making you feel drained, is not helping you, you have a choice to change that. And it's not going to be perfect. It's not like a light switch that goes in and out, but it starts with like little moments of choosing yourself, right? Yeah. Of choosing the light, of choosing the hope. When I was going through my depression and my anxiety state, I used to tell myself all the time these very nasty self-thoughts. I had like the nastiest self-taught that a person can have inside their head, right? And I would just believe them. They would just come in and I would be like, yes, I am like that. And like, I do everything wrong. And yes, nobody can love me. And I just believe them. I would never even like question them. And I went through this process where I was like, okay, the thought is coming, the thought that's telling me that I am stupid, that I'm not good enough and all these things. I choose not to believe it. I choose to recognize myself, like, what have I done good today? I have drunk enough water. I have given a compliment to somebody on the streets. I have made a healthy meal for me. And I had to choose myself, choose the path of love, choose the path of possibility 1,000 times. And I still choose it every single day, because the world is very distracting. The world will come in and is going to try to put you back in fear. And you have to make that commitment for yourself. I'm going to choose the faith. I'm going to choose the trust. I'm going to choose the abundance nature of the universe.
Yeah, 100%. And I love even what you were talking about is the attachment that we have, because we attach ourselves to thoughts. And we don't realize that it's just the thought. It's not my thought, but that these thoughts are literally floating up in there and they land on you, and you can decide, do I want to believe this thought, or do I want to send this thought away? Right? It's a little bit like recently, my son started to drive, and he went to me, Mom, do you know that if I would just have to turn the steering wheel and I'd crash all of us, like I'd kill all of us? And he had kind of freaked himself out about that thought, because he thought, oh, why would I think such an awful thing? And I said to him, Roan, we all think that. We have all had a thought like that. Just like when, you go to a hotel and you have a room on the floor that's really, really high. What's the first thing half of us do? We go out to the balcony and we look over like, whoo, I could jump, right? Like, why do we do that? It's not because we want our own destruction. It's not because we all have suicidal tendencies. It's not because we're trying to harm ourselves. It's because these are just thoughts that float in the air, that land on us for a moment. And if we go, oh, okay, and we move on and let that thought just flow out, then we're okay. But if we grab onto that thought and we hold it close to ourselves, then we go, oh, there must be something wrong with me. Why would I have such a terrible thought? That's such an awful thing. Is there something wrong with me? And then we build a story towards that, right? So I love the fact that not only can you get attached to things you want and things that you think you have to have, but you can get attached to thoughts thinking they're yours and they're not. Those nasty thoughts that sit on you for a moment, you can just send them off and go, not for me, So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing that you're bringing into the world.
Yeah.
Really lovely.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. And that is really the process, right? Like that's what I work with my clients. When I'm working with my clients, we go through a deep process of soul discovery. So we do see who you are in a soul level, what kind of traumas are you still holding in your physical and energetic body that are defining who you believe to be. And can we clear them? And energy healing is amazing for that, connecting to our ancestors, to our master guides. It's so amazing to clear that on an energy level. And when we clear that, when we let the energy of those stories go, then we get into a more resourceful state and we start asking ourselves, like, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be in the world? And we get back into this place of choice. We get back into choosing. So everything that you're saying, it is this shift of living through an ego mind versus living through your soul identity, through your cosmic identity. The ego mind will always be attached. We will define who you are by your thoughts, by your titles, by your relationship status, by how much money you have in the bank. Is attached to all of these labels, right? That's the ego mind. And if you can recognize it, see it, but then still go back to the conscious mind, to the conscious identity, that place of choice, you can say, how do I want my ego to be? Do I want my ego to be this way? Do I want my ego to be attached this way? Do I want my ego to believe these stories? Can I sing the new story for the ego? So there's that sense of the mind is an amazing servant, but a terrible master.
Yeah.
And it's so true, it's so true. Most of us, we live believing we are our mind, believing we are our thoughts, believing we are this human body, like, bones and meat and all these things. When in reality, by just believing that, you're leaving on the table an incredible potential, like an incredible potential for discovery, so much more that is available.
Yeah. I love that. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I was just wanting to affirm. I'm like, yes. So good. And you're so right. We think our ego is who we are. And it's exactly the opposite. And to realize that you can influence and direct the ego instead of feel like the ego is directing you, like that shift in mindset as to who's in control is so important. Yeah. I love it. I love chatting with you because there's always just like drops of wisdom. It's like it's raining wisdom. Drops of wisdom.
It's raining wisdom.
We got to write a new song. That's it. That's the one. I love it. So this is what Happy Healthy Women is about. Creating environments where we can show up and ask questions and communicate and enjoy each other's wisdom. And this is what you do with people professionally. So when you want to go deeper, when you're ready for that opportunity to say, yeah, I'm ready for this work, this is how you lead people, which is so incredible. So tell me, where and how can people get a hold of you? Do you have events running? Do you prefer working one-on-one? How do people get in contact with you if they go, oh my word, this is amazing and I need more of it in my life?
Yes. So there's two ways to connect with me. The first one is my Facebook group, where I'm very active there. I'm constantly popping in. I'm constantly giving little drops of reminding, like just again, reminding who you are, remember who you are. So that's a free resource. And I do post quite a lot of events in there. I do healing sessions as well. And then there's my one-on-one program. And that is for that soul that if you heard these words, you said yes. You might not even understand everything that they mean, but there's something inside of you that says yes, that says, yes, I think I am a cosmic being first and a human second. And I think I have been trapped in the ego mind and, and on this matrix, as we say it. And if that's you, if you're ready to take that call to really awaken yourself, then schedule a call with me. We'll get together. We'll see if we're good fit to work together and come into this journey, because I promise you, it's going to be the most transformative journey of your whole entire life. It's going to transform who you are forever, and broaden the possibilities of what's available to you in magnificent ways.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And not only can you say that from the level of you can help people, but you've done it for yourself, which I think is such an amazing thing to be able to say, like, no, I've walked that journey and I know intimately what that journey looks like. And then to be able to take people down that path is a beautiful thing. And I consider it such luck and such a blessing that you're part of Happy Healthy Women, because you are such a light to those of us who get to come to your events or get to meet you, at the different events. It's such a beautiful thing to be able to see. So for those of you listening, if you go, oh my word, this is either the type of conversation I want to be having, or these are the types of women I want to be meeting, or these are the types of opportunities I want to take advantage of, first of all, come to Happy Healthy Women, come and join us and see what we all have to offer. And very specifically, reach out to Carolini. I mean, you're on social media. You may as well be on social media feeding your soul rather than, just engaging in, who knows what. I mean, social media can be such a beautiful thing when there's beautiful resources like the one that Carolini is graciously giving us. So 100% reach out to her and start the journey with her, because I know it's one that you are not going to regret. And then join us on the journey of Happy Healthy Women as well, because it's definitely going to be one where we can support you along the way in a larger and broader way. So Carolini, thank you so much, one, for who you are, for the resources that you offer, for the part that you play in this community, and then of course for talking with me today. I'm so grateful that you took the opportunity.
You as well, Meg. You were like our, you're our treat in Happy Healthy Woman. You're just that like sweet cupcake that we all wanted. I know this is a terrible metaphor, but you are just, you're incredible. I just always appreciate getting
I'll be a sweet cupcake. I like that. I haven't had a cupcake in a long time. Now I'm longing for something. Oh, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and we will see you next week on Fearless Friday. Take care, everyone. Bye.